For our types of symmetry that we'll see in animals, we see asymmetry where there is no pattern of symmetry, and you can see down there the sponges are asymmetrical. Then you have radial symmetry, excuse me, and with radial symmetry, the animal has these parts that extend from a central axis that's in the center. And so the animal can be cut along the axis in more than one plane and it'll produce identical halves. If they show radial symmetry, they're usually sessile or immobile, or if they move, it's very little. And the radial symmetry allows them to reach out in all the different directions. Bilateral symmetry, if you were to divide them along the longitudinal axis, you're going to get identical right and left sides. This is really good when they are mobile or modal animals. Now, the way that symmetry evolved, sponges don't have any, they're asymmetrical. And then the cnidarians have radial symmetry, and all the rest of them, flatworms, mollusks, annelids, roundworms, arthropods, echinoderms, and all chordates have bilateral symmetry. If we look at the embryonic germ layers, the 3 layers are established during embryonic development, and they're called germ layers, and this is what gives rise to the organs and the organ systems. And the layers are the ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. And you see how we mentioned a while ago the hollow ball of cells, the blastula, and then it invaginates in, and then you see the blastopore that forms that will later become the mouth, unless it has a mouth and an anus, and that's what you see in the 4th diagram. So the ectoderm, ecto means outside, derm is skin, so it's the outer layer, and it gives rise to the skin and the nervous system of the animal, and that's what you see in blue. Then you've got the endoderm that you see in red. Endo means inside, derm, skin. And these cells are going to be the lining of the gut and all the organs that come from the gut. The mesoderm is the gray area, and that's between the ectoderm and endoderm. Meso means middle skin. And this will become everything else: your muscles, your connective tissues, your skeleton, your kidneys, your circulatory system, and your reproductive system. So here we've got our fertilized egg in the top diagram, and it goes through mitosis and it makes 2 cells, and then they go through mitosis and make 4, each of them making 2 apiece, and it continues until you've got all these cells clustered together that form that hollow ball, which is the blastula. And then the blastula invaginates and it forms the blastopore, and at that stage it's called a gastrula stage. If it's dipoblastic, diplo means 2, you've got 2 tissue layers. Triploblastic has 3, and the types of animals that have 3 that are tripoblastic are your protostomes and your deuterostomes. Protostomes, that first embryonic opening becomes their mouth. Deuterostomes, they are going to have 2 embryonic openings, and one of them becomes the mouth, and of course the other one is the anus. Certain protostomes and all deuterostomes have a true coelom, and a coelom is a body cavity. And here you see the protostomes with the 1 opening. That becomes the mouth. The first one becomes the mouth up at the top. And then the deuterostomes, the second opening becomes the mouth. And you see that down at the bottom, the mouth on the second. Now, mesentery is the tissue that holds the gut in place. And so this is showing the body plans for the major phyla. Sponges are multicellular, they don't have any tissues. Cnidarians have two tissue layers. Flatworms don't have a body cavity, they're acoelomate. But the mollusk and the annelids, they have a body cavity, they're coelomate, as are the echinoderms and chordates. And this body cavity is lined with the mesoderm completely. Roundworms are pseudocoelomate, and pseudo means false. And we'll talk about those a little bit more later. Now the gut is your digestive tract, or their digestive tract, the animals. And it helps the animal digest the food outside of their cells. It's called extra, which means outside cellular digestion. And if they don't have a digestive tract, then the food is brought directly into the cell for digestion, and that would be inside intracellular digestion. A sac-like gut, like you see at the top on the left, has one opening, and food will enter and leave through the same opening. A complete gut has two, a mouth and an anus, and we call that a tube within a tube. And this allows for specialization of parts along the tube. Some of the parts could be specialized for food storage, like our stomach. Others are specialized for secreting digestive enzymes, like the liver and the gallbladder and the pancreas. And then others for absorbing nutrients, like the small intestine and to some extent the large intestine.